ready to question everything? Tune in.
Out there, what's the plan? Are we pawns or the kings of the land? It's the Robert and Crew Show.
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm your host, Robert.
And I'm your co-host, Crew.
And tonight has been a night. I definitely worked my butt off tonight. Got everything done that I could at work. What's going on, Julie? Tried my hardest to do my best, and honestly, I just felt like I was dragging along every minute of the way. How's your night been?
Well, besides the stressful hot day at work, which, I mean, that's the only bad part about today at work. But other than that, it's a great day at work. But after that, pretty relaxing at home. So, can't complain.
What'd you do at home?
Relax, in bed, took a nap, did some Sora videos.
When they shutting that down? Do we know yet?
April 26th.
April 26th.
And
So,
a lot of people are upset about it.
I bet they are. So, tonight, we're going to be touching on the subject of the afterlife. I most famously, Jamie Ojeda, Crew Daniels, the E-Fed bad boy, my UAWLC champion. Yeah. Well, anyways, Mr. Crew over here, the fucking celebrity. So, there's always been the question, what happens after death? Is there an afterlife? Is there a place your soul or spirit goes? And if so, is it a better place than Earth? Is it a nicer place? Is it really a place where you go where there's a guy up there that sits on a throne and runs the most beautiful kingdom in the entire world? Or is it energy based and the soul, like energy, just reincarnates into another object of energy? Our bodies have to go or the soul, not the body, the soul has to go somewhere. They've proven that when you die, there's about 1.3 pounds that is gone, missing for no freaking reason. 1.3 pounds.
Hmm.
Okay? And that's not due to you crapping your pants. That's not due to you losing weight from death. It's literally due to something mysterious just happening to every human body. Most of them weigh a certain amount when right before they die, and after they die, they mysteriously are missing 1 pound. We have had videos and images before of what appears to be a white like orb that tends to leave the body right as death occurs, usually shooting out of the body or only being visible for a second and then disappearing. This orb in the science world has been called the soul. The soul, as we've been taught, is the part of our body that belongs to God. It's the property of the Lord and Savior.
Mhm.
That soul is the key to heaven. That soul could be the key to hell. Or that soul, you might not have one at all. Which brings into a weird, kind of a weird, um, kind of a weird thing, which is NPC people. Have you heard of NPC people crew?
NPC people?
NPC people,
Yeah,
non-playable characters in real life.
yeah. Like, okay, for example, we were in Kansas City months back, right? You and I was, and we were doing our little walk around the city and looking at the architecture.
Hmm.
And we swore and down, we walked past a few of them.
Yeah, so basically, with simulation theory, simulation theory shows that there would be people in this world without souls that are rendered in specifically because your mind puts them there, specifically because they have to fill space. So, how this ties back into the afterlife is if NPC people exist and they're soulless, what happens when they die? Does that energy still transfer, or is there no energy to transfer?
So, how I see it for an NPC, right? If they died, right, in simulation,
Hmm.
they cease to exist. They just
Right.
become code.
But is that a death? Is that
No,
considered a death?
so no, it wouldn't be considered a death. What it would be considered is okay. So simulation theory. Let's humor it for a second because it's pretty much a good theory, and honestly, we've proven for a fact that we are in a simulation. But I'm humoring it for those who don't believe. You know, when it comes to simulation theory, if an NPC dies, right, they do not have a soul. What will happen is they will cease to exist and just become code, and the code will go back into the simulation, right?
Right.
And then that's when the creator of the simulation, is God, or the creator, as he's also called, will create, either create, add on to the code and rewrite it, or
So, in the theory that NPCs exist, that they literally do exist, that so let's take in just for a second that these things, these soulless people actually exist. You believe that when they go or when they pass, since they would only technically be unbeknownstly known to yourself in your own realm or your own world of mind, then the fact that you just never see that person again means the program isn't rendering that person.
Well,
So therefore, the person just ceases to exist.
yes.
Yeah, so the program would just stop rendering the code for
So
that person.
basically, not only that, but you also have to understand when it comes to code.
Uh-huh.
Now, when it comes to a programmer, right? The programmer will then have to figure out what went wrong with the code.
Right.
Will the program rewrite it, edit it, or delete it?
But if it's a death, then it's a delete. It's a deletion. It's a deletion of code.
Well,
And if it's
there's
rewritten, if the code were to be rewritten per
Mhm.
se, that would explain kids who have memories of past lives. Say,
right.
say for instance, Johnny. Let's just say, let's call him Johnny Carlson.
hmm
Goes to war in World War One, and he gets bayoneted to death. And it's a very horrible death. The bayonet goes right through his heart, and it leaves a nasty mark. Like obviously, there's whole puncture wound right through the heart.
hmm
And then let's say 22 years later, a little boy is born by the name of Norman. And Norman remembers at the age of 2 that Norman fought in World War One. And Norman remembers his name was not Norman. And Norman remembers that his name was John Carlson. And Norman goes and playfully tells his parents, you know, I remember being John Carlson, and I remember being bayoneted to death in World War One. Both of his parents stop everything they're doing. Mom drops her coffee cup, literally spills coffee everywhere, right? Just
hmm
everywhere. Stops mid thought, going, what the hell did my 2-year-old just say to me? Believe it or not, that happens all the time. All the time. And the even crazier things is these 2 or 3 or 4 or 5-year-olds that remember details that would be impossible to know unless you were that person. Now, they do say by like 8, by age 8, most of the kids forget their past life. That part of their brain just shuts off. It no longer allows them to register it. I've often wondered if hypnotherapy would bring that back out. You know what I mean? Like if you
hmm
could hypnotize somebody over the age of 8 who claimed to have a past life when they were 2 or 3, if you could hypnotize them to get their previous life or previous personality to come out.
hmm
Now, I've heard a theory. I've heard a theory that this happens. Now, this all gets tied back into the afterlife, don't get me wrong. I've heard a theory that this is tied back into distinctively the people that remember past lives. That what we think of as spirits and ghosts in the
hmm
spiritual realm, that some of these ghosts and some of these spirits can't leave. The energy can't move on. And we've known this. We've figured this out. We've heard stories about it. We've seen poltergeists. We've seen the energy. We know what it does. Some people call them demons. Some people call them angels. There's a mix between all of it. Some people call them misidentified interdimensional beings. It gets that crazy. That's how crazy it gets. But in all reality, what it is, in my personal belief, is that these souls that get trapped on earth are dying to have a physical body again. And when you get lucky, or this soul gets lucky enough to be right there during a birth of a child, that soul can steal the place of the soul that was going to go there. Now, what happens is the old soul remembers all of these core memories, and that kid remembers them, and they remember them well, all the way up into like age 8 or 9.
Mm.
Most of the time, these children won't talk about it unless they want to talk about it. And I've heard that if you pressure them to talk about it, they forget it faster.
Hmm.
So it's very interesting. I think personally it gives a really good argument for reincarnation or soul stealing. And by soul stealing, I'm not talking about the literal stealing of somebody's soul. I'm talking about a soul, a lost soul, literally taking the place inside of a child, a brand new born child, before ever having the opportunity to get the soul itself, which I believe that the soul enters the baby as soon as it's born. Right as soon as it comes out, a soul is attached to the child. And the reason I believe this is because I've heard stories. I've heard stories of people in like a pregnancy room, right?
Hmm.
And they're in the operating room watching their wife give birth, and they're sitting there with the doctor, and it's this crazy moment. And right at the moment of the baby coming out, the husband says or claims that he sees a white light, and it appears out of nowhere. It just appears in the room behind the doctors, behind the woman, and nobody seems to see the light but him. And as soon as the baby comes out, the light goes right inside of the baby. It just shoots into the baby. And it's the most amazing thing that these people have ever claimed to see. And they're like, the only explanation for it is God. Is literally it's God giving the soul to the newborn. Going, here, you have my blessing, you have a soul, you have life that is granted by God. So have you ever heard of the moon soul catcher?
Mm-mm.
There's a theory that goes all the way back to ancient Sumeria, okay,
Hmm.
where they believed that there was some kind of technology on the moon, some kind of crazy spiritual frequency technology on the moon. And basically, when you die, your soul leaves the body, right? And
Hmm.
it travels upwards, trying to go back to the creator, trying to go back to the original source of energy. Well, this technology acts as a net, and it traps the soul. And the soul gets put into this antenna, and the frequency is shot back down to earth, which causes that soul to go or be trapped on earth, sometimes putting that soul into another body. And the belief behind this was reincarnation. It's super old school reincarnation if you think about it. It's
Yeah.
energy being recycled. It was their explanation for death and birth. Now, is that what happens? I don't know. I can tell you that children remembering past lives is extremely weird, and it goes down into the realms of reincarnation. If soul stealing can happen, then reincarnation is 100% real and plausible. Now, if soul stealing isn't real, then I don't know how to explain past lives or near death experiences for that matter. Now, you know what a near death experience is, right?
Oh yeah.
So, for instance, when I was younger, I had a near death experience, one that happened really fast, one that was very, very scary. I was I was headed to a park to go skate We both know what park that is. I was headed to the park. I was in the middle of the road. I was going down this road that goes over some train tracks and it curves and it goes to the park. And I was going down this road and I was going past this fast food place and I was on the side of the road on my skateboard. Doing like probably not doing the smartest things like hopping around and stuff, but I was in the bike lane. I was not like in the middle of the road or nothing. I had a red truck that sped up real fast. As soon as it cut through an intersection, it sped up real fast and it hit me head on. And I remember the first thing I could see was a light. And all I heard was not yet. Literally, that's all that I heard was a voice that said not yet. And I blinked and I woke up and I'm on the ground. Of course, the truck is gone. It drove off. The dude who stopped at the gas station that was right next to where I got hit was like, "Oh my god," or whatever, and he stopped for me and he's like, "Are you okay? Do I need to call an ambulance for you?" Blah 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 blah. I didn't let him call an ambulance. I remember I went home. Probably the stupidest thing I ever did. I probably should have gone to the hospital. But I remember just hearing not yet, like in the white light. I didn't see like people. I didn't have my life flash before my eyes, but it felt like a very warm sensation all throughout my body. And basically a feminine voice telling me not yet. And I took it as that it was somebody, probably my guardian angel, or just an angel in general, telling me it wasn't my time to go. And basically, I believe that day I was shielded. Something shielded me because that truck could have killed me instantaneously. That truck could have killed me.
Right.
So I know what near death experiences are like, but I've heard some crazy ones where people go into a coma
Mm.
and they live their entire life over until the part of where they wake up from the coma.
Mm.
Like they live their life from age 1 all the way to like the day the day that caused them to go into a coma, and it's like they wake up from the coma that way. It's very weird.
Mm.
And then I don't know if you've heard of people that have gotten hit by a car, or their car went off of a ledge and then they like passed out and they had the most insane dream ever where they like went to heaven or they went to hell,
Mm-hmm.
and then they wake up and they realize they're still alive.
Right.
So with the afterlife, man, there's got to be something to heaven and something to hell. And the reason I say this is because so many humans put enough belief into it, stuff like that becomes real.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the definition of witchcraft, by the way, guys, is you put belief into something and you believe it so strong that it happens. That's literally the definition of witchcraft. So these people that want to say that religion and witchcraft share no resemblances, that's not true. Religion is the same definition. Believe in this so hard that it becomes your truth, which is the same thing with witchcraft, which is believe in this so hard and this may come true. But usually for most witches, it's believe in this so hard that it does come true. You know, you can trace the afterlife all the way back to the ancient Egyptians, and even further. But, you know, famously, the Egyptians did what to their bodies?
They mummified them.
They mummified them.
Mm-hmm.
And then what did they do to the people that were mummified? What did they do for them?
They put them in a specific.
Once they put them into the sarcophagus and put them into a tomb, what did they do for them?
They gave them something to get them into where they need to be.
They adorned them with all of their materialistic jewels
Hmm.
and or gold and or anything. Famously, the ancient Egyptians had tons of grave robbers, grave robberies.
Hmm.
So basically, the Egyptians believed that they had to offer God something. So when you offer God something,
Hmm.
it turns into a completely different scenario. And the Egyptians believed that the most amazing, materialistic, raw, valuable thing you could trade, and as long as your soul was pure, you would get into the sea of reeds or heaven or whatever you wanted to call it. But if your offering wasn't good enough, then you would be damned to purgatory or their version of hell. I do know that quite a few of them um, believed in certain things that went against the grain, which was obviously belief in multiple gods, which is paganism. Also, that originally was formed in Greece and Greek and Rome, and basically they had gods for everything. Gods for food, gods for death, gods for life, gods for everything. Literally anything you could name, they had a god for.
Yep. Ain't that the truth?
A lot of these a lot of these civilizations had gods for the afterlife. A lot of these civilizations believed in an afterlife. Why was it such a belief that was held in such high regard for so long, for so many generations, for so many thousands of years, through so many different cultures about the same thing, about going to a place after here? What are your thoughts, crew, on the afterlife?
Okay, so I've heard a lot of different near death experiences, which is pretty interesting, right? Um, or God showing different people heaven and hell just to get them their life turned around or whatever. One of my favorite ones, near death experiences, they made it into a movie, but they wrote a book about it. Some say the story is fraudulent, but it's coming from a 3-year-old when he was 3, right? If nobody's ever seen the movie or read the book, Heaven is for Real, it's a must see and must read. Really good book and really good movie. It's basically about a boy who something happened with his stomach or whatever when he was 3 years old, right? And
Right.
he had a incident where in the hospital, right? When he's in the hospital, he leaves his body.
So he has an out of body experience.
Yeah, he goes to heaven. And he meets Jesus. He meets angels. And he meets his sister, who I guess was never born, you know. And then he meets his grandfather or his great grandfather or something like that. And then he tells his parents about it. And his dad's a preacher. And the whole town started thinking he was crazy. until he started explaining what his son saw, and then it became a worldwide thing. And they made they wrote the book, and then they made it into a movie. So good. Then there's these, God showing this one person, for example, hell. And the guy, I guess, testimony about who we saw in hell was a bunch of different celebrities, right? And what the demons were making these celebrities do.
I heard the one about the guy who gets damned to hell and it's a near death experience or whatever. He's in a coma. He goes to hell and basically he meets a high up demon or angel or whoever is running, that certain area of hell.
Mhm.
And they kind of look at him and they go, "Oh, we weren't expecting you for like another like 13 years. Like, why are you so early?" And the man, I guess, immediately is like, what do you mean I'm early? I don't belong here. I don't want to come here. I don't want to go here, And I guess the angel or demon or whoever it is looks at him and goes, "Oh no, you've earned your place here. Like the only way you fix this is if you don't do certain things in your life, but some of these things you've already done. Like you've earned this. This is where you're coming, but it's not your time yet. And maybe you can fix this, but maybe not. I'll see you in a couple of years." And then he wakes up. How crazy would that be? Like that's worse than seeing anything done to celebrities or seeing anything done to anybody, but literally meeting the angel of death or literally
Mhm.
the demon and them going, "Oh no, no, no. You belong here and you are going to be here, just not yet."
Right.
That's
Well,
crazy. I would shit my pants 4 times over. I would try to fix everything in my life. I would try to right every wrong that I've ever done. If that ever happened to me, oh my God, I'd become the most godly SOB there ever was. I'd become a priest, and I'd be a real good priest too. Like, I'd be the holiest man in the entire world the next 2 years if I got a message like that. I'd give my entire life to everything to just I ain't going to hell.
well, so here, okay, so when it comes to the, being shown hell, right? Um, the
A
one
lot a
I
lot of the
heard,
people well, a lot of the people describe it as not really seeing people like burning and on fire or like even hurt. They describe it as like when they end up going there, it's like they hear screaming and they hear like yelling and they hear like people like crying and they don't know what's going on and they can't tell up from down or left from right. It's very disorienting, I guess. And
Mm.
like there's only been a couple of people that have described it as a fiery pit of like blood or feces, but other people claim when you end up there it's not even something you can describe. There's no way to describe it, and the only thing they can say is that like there's certain things you hear or certain things you remember. So it's just it's a weird one, man. Like
yeah.
the
Well,
near death experience with the experience of hell is a definitively weird one.
the one I'm talking about though, for this guy, he basically said who he saw, right?
Mhm.
And he said he saw Elvis Presley. He saw Robin Williams, and he saw like Selena.
Yeah.
Uh, he saw like a whole bunch of different celebrities that just
You
did not
can't
look.
tell me that Adolf Hitler wasn't there.
Well, no, he didn't. He didn't say Adolf Hitler,
Out of all
but
Out of all the celebrities in the world you could see in hell, that's the one guy you don't run into. Like, come
Well,
on now.
well, no, like he saw a select few, is what I mean,
No,
is what
I
he said.
know. I'm just saying. I mean, it
And
sounds like one hell of a story, no pun intended.
but there is one person I know who had a near death experience, right? And she came back real quick, right?
Yeah,
My wife.
yeah,
So this was about in 2019. We were staying in a garage at this time, right? Out in Raytown. And it was in the middle of the night. We were getting ready for bed, and she stops breathing for a good 5 minutes.
right. Why
So
that
I'm
happen?
doing, I don't even know what happened. It's just she stopped breathing. So I did the whole CPR thing. She came back and she blurts out, that was the weirdest, most traumatizing experience, but also beautiful experience I've ever seen. I'm like, what are you talking about? And she describes the gates and the staircase
Right. Like being
and
right there, being right next to it.
and looking up and seeing an angel just standing there and telling her it's not her time, she needs to go back. And
I
I
wish
asked,
I wish I would have seen things when mine happened.
mm,
But when mine happened, it was literally like I entered into a void. Like it was so the only way that I can explain it is, allegedly, if you do DMT, you make
mhm.
it to this place, this room that's usually pitch black. Allegedly, I wouldn't know. I've never done DMT, but allegedly, you end up in a room and usually there's like a door there's no door but you see a light and that's the void. Basically, that's where I ended up in my near death experience. Was when I got hit by the truck, everything just went black. I literally just went to a void and I heard the feminine voice. I didn't see anything. There was no light, there was no people, there was no psychedelic anomaly. There was just a voice. And then I opened my eyes. And next thing I knew, there were people, well, one person that had stopped, and other people driving by looking out their window like, holy shit, is that kid okay?
Well,
And it was scary.
when I asked my wife, I was like, what to describe, give me more detail and what she saw. And she said she saw gold, white, you know,
Hmm.
um, staircase.
A golden white staircase.
Yeah, and then a golden gate.
See, that's funny because, a lot of people say that. And I think it's because it's woven into our brain when we are younger. Like,
Mm.
I honestly think the pearly gates of heaven, we all think about it when we're younger. We just think about it because people tell us, like, they're like, it's going to be a gate. There's going to be a stairway, and then there's going to be this gate. And then there's going to be an angel or some kind of person standing at the gate, and they're going to decide on whether or not it's your time to come in yet. And sometimes they tell you you're at the wrong place, which is even crazier. Like, I've heard stories of people like dying but coming back, but they like tell a story where they wind up at a gate and there's an angel there, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, who are you?" And dude or woman or whoever is like, yeah, I'm this person. I'm trying to figure out why I'm here. And the angels are like, oh no, you are not in the right place. We'll have to call somebody to escort you to where you need to be. And that always like freaks people out. But I've heard that. Like that would be so crazy. It's like the story. It's like the story earlier of the dude literally meeting the angel of death. And the angel of death going, oh no, you're going to hell for sure. It's just not time yet.
And you want to know something funny? You know the angel of death's name is, right?
I think so, but I don't remember it right now off the top of my head.
It's Azazel.
Azazel, yeah.
And there is a thing where, right, Azazel does one thing. Two things basically. One, if you're a gentle, kind soul, he'll gently take your soul out of your body. But if you are a corrupt, evil soul, he will harmfully take your soul out of your body.
Like rip it away from you.
Yeah. And that is one thing that Azazel's known for. Now, Azazel, one thing that Azazel did, and this is reference to Exodus, right? Is Azazel took all the firstborn children of all the Egyptians,
Yeah.
but whoever bared a red paint, like blood mark on their door,
Yeah, it's from a lamb.
blood
from a lamb.
Yeah, so blood from the lamb. Azazel left those houses alone.
Yep, those were Jewish homes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was a Jewish that was during the plagues.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the most saddest, traumatizing stories I've ever read in the Bible.
Well, the Egyptian, like in that story, Pharaoh, it was because of what Pharaoh was doing. It was he was spitting on God and basically saying, I am God. You have no power over me because your God is not God, because I am God and my gods are better than your God. And God didn't like that. And God said, well, now your fucking firstborn children are all going to die. And
Right.
he was like, what? That's not going to happen. You can't do that. And then God was like, oh, yeah. Well, on top of all of that, I'm also going to plague your entire cities for a certain amount of days. And you're going to see crazy things happen. And your people are going to be completely living in torment, in torment and hell. And supposedly that's what happened. So I don't know. That's a crazy story. The plagues are crazy, man. They're crazy. It makes you. It's like what Elmster said earlier, which I didn't really speak on, but he had a comment earlier that said that a lot of cultures have different uh, different beliefs in death.
Yeah, which is true.
But I was trying to see, just so he said a lot of ancient societies believed in taking slaves and others to death with them as well. Crazy to think on. And it really is. That a lot of people, like literally, specifically like Chinese dynasties, right? They like took, before they did the clay people, they took their real people with them. Some Egyptians took their slaves with them. Some other people also did the same. It's crazy. It's crazy. But obviously, they thought in the afterlife, they thought, the things that I take with me are the things that I will have. Did you ever see that episode of The Twilight Zone where the guy wakes up and he's in his own apartment and there's two beautiful girls sleeping next to him, and he can't believe where he's at because the last thing he remembers is being in the hospital. But he
Hmm.
wakes up and these two beautiful girls are laying in bed next to him, and he gets out of bed. He realizes that like he's in this nice penthouse at this like casino, and he calls down below because he's got a poker table in his room. And before he can make the call, these people walk through the door and they lay cards down on the table and they start letting him play poker. And he starts with like, holy shit, I can gamble. Holy shit, I have money already on tab. And he starts doing this every single day. And then finally he gets bored with it. He's like, what is going on here? What is going on here? This isn't fun anymore. Like it might be different women, but it's just women, and I'm winning every time I play poker. I'm winning every single time. I'm making all of this money, but I can't leave this casino. I can't leave this hotel. I can't leave this penthouse, and I can't get away from these women. And then the random guy appears and he goes, "Oh, I realize you're starting to really hate where you're at. Do you understand now? Do you understand what you've done?" And then you realize yourself that he's in hell, and that's his own personal hell. The things he once loved, he ends up hating, which
Hmm.
are hookers and gambling, obviously.
Yeah. Hmm. 100%.
What if this is the afterlife, says Elmsta? That would be intense. If
Yeah, it
we
would.
already all died and this is just energy floating through a world and we are only experiencing what we're experiencing due to memories that have already happened, that's
Well,
an entire different question there.
truthfully, so yes, I believe in heaven and hell, right? Now, okay, so I'm not really big into the whole purgatory, mumbo jumbo, because, I don't follow the Catholic side,
Then what are
because
ghosts?
what?
Then what are ghosts? If you don't believe in
Okay,
purgatory,
so
what's a ghost?
purgatory, I'm going to explain purgatory to you real quick, okay? Just because you see ghosts and spirits doesn't mean that you're seeing them showing themselves because they're in purgatory. No, that's not how purgatory works, okay? Purgatory is its own little, realm where lost souls go, and they go there because they have unfinished business.
Right.
They're stuck. Now, if you
But
see
isn't that what
spirit,
ghost is?
if
Isn't
you
that a
see,
spirit stuck that is unfinished business, or a spirit
so
that cannot move on?
there's, okay, so that's what Catholics believe. That's what purgatory is for the Catholics. Now, people who aren't Catholic, who believe in ghosts and spirits, and ghouls and all that poltergeist stuff, right?
Yeah, the paranormal.
Yeah, the paranormal. That's basically, there's different forms of all those. There's the energy, right?
Right.
And some of those energies are left behind, to where there's residual energies where they're not they're not actually, they do things that they did from the past, and they won't acknowledge you. Or you get the spirits who just walk around minding their own business, and like, you can, if they see you and you see them, it's basically a haunting.
Right.
And then you got the negative energy who wants to cause corruption.
Gotcha.
So basically, that's what you would call the paranormal side of, the afterlife. Now, some wait so long until they get a spot in heaven or to hell. That's another side of, being a lost soul, because they haven't earned the spot in heaven or hell because they have unfinished business, so they're stuck. So
But I think
that
the question that everybody wants to really ask is what is preventing them from accessing the afterlife?
so when it comes to, unfinished business, right? Certain souls who, died too early, right?
Uh-huh.
Who did not finish what they were meant to finish on Earth when they
Right.
were alive.
The
That
definition of unfinished business. You didn't tell somebody sorry. You didn't make up for something that you needed to make up for. You had to be somewhere at a certain place. Your soul feels the need to stay where it's at this point in this time because of a certain reason.
yes.
But I have a problem with that. I don't think the soul gives a fuck about what you need to do once you die. I really don't think
Well,
the soul cares.
no, it's not like that. Okay. So when it comes to, the soul, right?
Yeah.
If you if you had a lot going on in your life, right? And you die too early, and you had and God has a book, right? I'm going to give you an example. God has a book. He's all knowing. Basically, he writes everything down, what's going to happen for every single person. He knows all, he sees all, he basically knows everything that's going to happen in everybody's life, how
Right.
it plays out. So, for us, if we die too early and we can't come back, and we don't get a spot, and we're we aren't good or we're not bad, right?
Right.
We get stuck and we can't really finish what we were meant to finish. So we get stuck into, like, for example, Catholics call it purgatory, where you're stuck and you're in this realm where you just stay there for all eternity until something. I don't know.
But
But
the problem I have with that is I don't think the soul cares. And I don't
well,
understand I don't understand why the soul would get captured or get stuck in a place that it like I don't believe that the soul is actually connected to the person itself.
let
I believe the soul is just the life force. It's just
let
the energy that gives you life.
let's see what Grok has to say. I'm curious to hear what Grok has to say on this.
What do you want me to ask it?
Okay. Basically, what you're asking.
So, what is the explanation for souls getting trapped in purgatory? And why would the energy get trapped there? Let's see what it has to say. All right, guys, asking the large language model, Grockety Grok. Okay, purgatory and traditional Catholic Christian teaching, the main context where this concept exists, is not a place where souls are unwillingly trapped like in a prison or limbo. It is a temporary state of merciful purification after death for souls who die in God's grace and friendship, but are still imperfectly holy, meaning they have venial lesser sins, lingering attachments to sin, or unpaid temporal punishment due to forgiven sins. These souls have already passed through a particular judgment and are guaranteed to enter heaven eventually. Nothing unclean can enter heaven. Revelation 21:27. So this final cleansing removes every remaining imperfection so the soul can fully enjoy the beatific vision of God. The beatific vision of God. Okay, so Catholics believe that souls get trapped in purgatory because they're unclean. And God puts them into purgatory because they're imperfectly holy and they have to be clean, like they have to be cleansed before they can re-enter the kingdom of God, and they have some kind of weird attachment to sin or temporal punishment, as this thing said.
Okay. As Grok, why do souls do not move on to heaven or hell and don't pass on and is it because of unfinished business?
My computer's being. All I want to do is. Why are you doing this? Whatever. Oh, because I'm being an idiot. That's why. Heck, guys, you just saw me be an idiot. Okay, you wanted me to ask why? Why do what?
Okay. What is the explanation for an idiot on why people get stuck after they die and not move on?
So here's a super simple, idiot-friendly explanation. Like you're 10 years old and just want the basics. When someone dies, most people believe their soul or spirit is supposed to move on, like leaving the old house and going to a better place, heaven, the light, the afterlife, whatever you call it. But sometimes the spirit gets stuck here on earth instead of leaving. People call these stuck ones ghosts or earthbound spirits. They hang around the places or people they knew when they were alive, and they can't or won't fully go to the next place. Why do they get stuck? They don't know they're dead, especially if they died really suddenly, a car crash, heart attack, etc. They wake up and see their body but think, "Wait, what? I'm still here." So they just keep living in their old house like nothing happened. They're too attached. They love their family, kids, homes, house, or money so much that they refuse to leave. Like, I can't go yet. My wife needs me, or this is my house. Unfinished business. Something big wasn't done. Murdered and the killer got away. They want justice or left the kids behind. They worry about them, had a big fight, never said sorry. They feel like they can't leave until it's fixed. They're scared or confused. Some are afraid of judgment, like, oh no, God is mad at me for the bad stuff I did. Better hide here. Others had no religion and have no idea what happens next, so they freak out and stay put. Trauma or strong emotions, died in pain, anger, sadness, or fear. Those feelings are so strong they act like glue, keeping part of the person stuck. It's like their sadness or rage won't let them go. Addiction or bad habits. Some were super into drugs, alcohol, or even just daily routine. The pull of that old life keeps them around. In short, ghosts are usually just regular dead people who are scared, confused, sad, angry, or obsessed with something from their life. They're not usually evil monsters. Most are just lost and suffering. How they move on. Helpers, mediums, priests, or just kind people talk to them, tell them it's okay, pray for them, or help them finish unfinished stuff. Once they feel safe or forgiven, they usually leave toward the light. Bottom line, people become ghosts because death didn't fix their problems or feelings. They stay stuck because of the same messy human stuff that messes us up while we're alive. Fear, love, anger, guilt, or confusion. Interesting.
So does that help? Does that help?
No,
That don't please you?
no.
Okay, ask it to please you in better explanation then.
No, no, it's okay. I just grew up. So look, I grew up Jewish. I grew up
Mhm.
with a family that consistently told us that there was no hell. I mean, like literally in a lot of Jewish Reformed Jewish families, we're taught that there is no hell. Like, there's no place called hell. There's no real place called heaven. Like, you just go back to God. When you die, your body degrades and your spirit goes back to God. That's what those Reformed Jewish people believe happens when you die. Um, I think they do have beliefs on, like, if you were a horrible human, like if you're a horrible human, your soul is still going to go somewhere else. You're not going to be allowed to have the graciousness of God Almighty. Your soul will suffer in one way or another, but they don't call it hell. But like Reformed Jews don't believe in Satan either. They don't believe in Lucifer. They don't believe that exists. Now, there's obviously sects of Judaism that believe that Satan is real. They believe in all of that, but not Reformed. Reformed Jews don't believe in that.
Mm.
It's very weird. They believe that bad people exist and that bad energy is around, but they mostly believe that God keeps a balance. And that balance, like, in order to have good, you have to have evil. In order to have evil, you have to have good.
Yep.
So that's what most Jews believe. I mean, there are a lot of Jews, trust me, that believe other things too. Um, Same thing with Christians and Catholics and Baptists and all that other stuff. They all have their own beliefs. Just like all these old ancient cultures had their own beliefs. The ancient question and the question of this day still is what happens when we die? None of us really know. None of us really know. And I don't think we ever really will. We're going to want to believe that we go to this amazing place afterwards. This place where we get to see all of our loved ones in one way or another, get to see the pets who we loved that have passed, and
Mhm.
just get to be with family and be around the good energy. And I hope that is what happens. I pray that's what happens. But none of us really know.
Right.
So, with that being said, guys, I don't plan on dying anytime soon. So, I'm not going to be able to tell you what the afterlife's like. But until then, tune in nightly to the Robert and Crew Show.
If we're both awake. But if not, we'll let you know if we're rescheduling.
Exactly. So crew, before we end tonight, obviously, as always, what is this?
This is the Venmo link to the Robert and Crew show, where if you'd like to, not a have to, donate so that way we can get stuff for the podcast or so we can go travel for the podcast. Anything and everything that refers to this Venmo link is only for the podcast.
All right. And always, our favorite currency, though, is share the show. If you know somebody that likes to listen to two crazy people ramble on and talk, share the show. Let them know that we're up all night talking about weird, crazy, weird, creepy, fun stuff. Fun stuff, guys. Let them know. Tell them to let their side pieces know. Tell them to let their moms know. Tell them to let everybody know. Tell them about the Robert and Crew show. Anyways, much love. Peace out from the Robert and Crew show.